Hey y'all, how's everybody doing? I would like to give a shout out to my members, all my subscribers, and all the viewers. I hope everybody doing okay. We're going to jump into D4VD and Celeste Rivas indictment. Okay, um, these are my opinion and not necessarily based on facts. Okay, I also the purpose of this video is to educate you all and myself on this case because it really doesn't make sense a little bit, but in commenting and criticism purposes. Okay, you all can remember D4VD David is the young man who the singer who was accused of putting his girlfriend in his Tesla, and he said he never had a Tesla. He didn't do it. So uh, we had a private PI that went to do his investigation on the house. But this is what we're going to get into because I just want to give y'all a brief update what's going on with the D4VD case. Now, at first they said we were dealing with an investigated grand jury. Okay. Now I'm going to give you the definition for the investigated grand jury, but first I'm going to give you the definition for grand jury. Okay, so it's a difference between. I'm learning myself, y'all. That's why I say education purposes. A grand jury duty involves citizen serving on a panel, a review evidence presented by a prosecutor for a serious criminal case. So this, they are really saying that D4VD and Celeste Rivas does have a case. This is a case. Okay. So if there's enough probable cause to formally charge someone with a crime via indictment, essentially acting as a shield against unwanted prosecution and sometimes performing civil duties like investigating government operation. Okay, so unlike trial, juries proceeded all private and grand juries here only the prosecution side to decide if a trial should proceed not guilty or innocent. So that's where we are now with the D4VD case. It's a grand jury, not an investigated jury. So in other words, they need a probable cause. And that's what they're trying to get on D4VD. Okay. So that's the definition of the grand jury. So we're going to get into an investigated jury because they don't went from there to grand jury. Okay. Now with this grand jury, they can issue subpoenas for documents and witness to gather information. See, that's what they doing now with D4VD, allegedly. Decide if there's a probable cause. That's what they're doing. Is there a probable cause to issue an indictment for a serious crime to D4VD? Do they have a probable cause? Also serve as a check on the government preventing baseless prosecution. Now what's going to take place in this grand jury, y'all? Because I'm going to show y'all the two different video giving y'all two different thoughts. They're going to be private proceedings in this D4VD grand jury. Hearings are held in secret unless public trials. So they really don't want y'all, they don't really want his fans to know what's going on. That's what it seemed like to me. Now, what's going to happen in this? Now, I'm telling you, this is what they saying, that the prosecutors have enough evidence in they have enough evidence. That's what they saying, but they don't have a probable cause. But they have a probable cause because they issue an indictment, so they have a probable cause. That's the purpose of this grand jury, y'all. Now let's get into investigative grand jury. Let's look up that now, because I never have to go out in the court like this, so I have to look stuff up, and I'm not ashamed to say that. Okay, let me see. Now, with the investigation grand jury duty involves a group of citizens like us. But they are trying to do, they are doing without the investigation grand jury, y'all, on the D4VD. Okay, I already gave y'all that. They already talked about the grand jury, a probable cause. Okay, they have a probable cause on here, but at first it was a investigation grand jury. That's what it was at first. The first time they was going to decide if they're enough probable, because they have enough probable cause. They claim that they have enough probable cause on D4VD. Y'all, I see. Before we look at this video, only thing I got to say is, why would I put a body in my trunk knowing I'm gonna get caught? Okay, I'm just saying. But these days, they are doing things unbelievable. They are doing things that they are committing crimes that we're saying, wow, why are they doing that? And I can remember back some years ago when one of my subscribers said, Lanita, I believe they doing it real deal. Real deal, they doing this for real. So let's look at this first video right here. Now, and you know what? TMZ got all the answers. To me, it seemed like it was TMZ news. It was their crypt. Uh, it was their crypt show, because they was mostly like giving us the news. You don't hear nothing from the prosecutor. You don't hear nothing for the defense. You don't hear nothing from the officers, Los Angeles Police Department. We don't hear nothing from them. Only thing we hear from is TMZ. So I really think this is TMZ show, but we'll see to the end. Okay, this first video, let's listen to this. Then we're going to talk about it. Now, let's yeah. Listen to this one first, y'all. Let's check this one out first. Then we'll talk about it.
For joining your newsroom over recent weeks. Michael Babcock, in particular, about this David Celeste Rivas situation, and it's been a mystery. There's been so many questions regarding this case, and I understand you guys are reporting that David could be in some serious legal trouble. Will you get us up to date, Brandon?
Absolutely. I mean, what we're seeing right now is that a grand jury has been hearing evidence from several witnesses, people that are important to the case for the last several weeks. We don't know exactly who they've talked to, but we do know one person that they've talked to. His name is Robert Morganrod. He's notable because he was David's day-to-day manager. Now, this man essentially knew that Celeste Rivas was missing for some time, and that's what they pressed him about. Now, the prosecutors asked him, why did
Now, y'all heard what he just said? That's what I just went over with y'all. That's what I just went over with y'all. Investigated jury. That's what I just went over. I talked about investigated jury because, hold on, y'all. Wait a minute, hold on, y'all. Because you if you don't pay attention, you'll get it confused, you know. Hold on. Okay. An investigative jury is a secret group of citizens, 16 through 23 members. That's what he's telling y'all right here, y'all. He's telling y'all that right here. Now keep in mind that is what a investigative grand jury is, a group of citizens like us, like 16 to 23 members that act as a check on prosecution power by investigating potential witnesses. Think about the witnesses in this investigated grand jury, but they don't have that now. Now they trying to say that they have a grand jury, probable cause. So I'm going to take this back and think about what I said. At first they have, wait, hold on. First they had, at the beginning of this case, hold on, y'all. TMZ trying to say at first that they have they was working with this case, so they had an investigated grand jury. They just had a group of citizens like us, 16 through 23 members, to act as a check on prosecutionary power by investigating potential crimes, determining if there's enough evidence, probable cause. Now they're trying to say that they have a grand jury. And the investigative power of the grand jury is an inquisitory arm of the court whose function is investigated and not prosecution. It is charged with conducting its own. So what they did at first, they conduct their own investigation on the D4VD case. But now they're trying to tell you they have probable cause. They have a grand jury now. So they have discovered so much evidence on this case. They put it together when they investigated. Now they got it all together. They got probable cause. So that's when you hear him say investigated jury, that's he's saying that the group of citizens got together and they got this crime together, piece it together. Now they're gonna have a grand jury because they have probable cause after they had investigate this case. They did the same thing we do it. In other words, we are investigating the case in order to perform a grand jury, a probable cause. So that's what he's saying right here, okay?
Thank you so much for joining us this morning. We appreciate it. We have been speaking with your newsroom over recent weeks. Michael Babcock, in particular, about Celeste Rivas situation. And it's been there's been so many questions regarding this case. And I understand you guys are reporting that David could be in some serious legal trouble. Will you get us up to date, Branson?
Absolutely. I mean, what we're seeing right now is that a grand jury has been hearing evidence from several witnesses, people that are important to the case for the last several weeks. We don't know.
He just mentioned grand jury to y'all. That's what he just. I have to stop this video, y'all. This is a reaction channel. Now they have a grand jury now. So what they trying to tell y'all? They have probable cause on D4VD. That's what they saying.
Who they've talked to, but we do know one person that they've talked to. His name is Robert Morganrod. He's notable because he was David's day-to-day manager. Now, this man essentially knew that Celeste Rivas was missing for some time, and that's what they pressed him about. And the prosecutors asked him, why did you not call police upon this new knowledge?
Man, y'all, that doesn't make no sense. This case here doesn't make sense to me, because if I am the person that signed as part of his employee, I know a body in the trunk, and I know that since I know that the body in the trunk, they're gonna do something to me. They're gonna prosecute me or try to indict me to come to court, because I know a body in the trunk, but I ain't say nothing about it. This just don't make sense. It's no way in the world I jeopardize my job for nobody in this world. I would not do that. So come on now. You tell me that this manager knew that a body was folded up, wrapped up in the trunk of a 13-year-old girl? That don't make sense, y'all.
And his response was allegedly, according to sources at the courthouse, that it wasn't his job to do that, and that he was responsible for keeping the tour going. As we know, he was also the tour manager and head of the music label of for David.
Man, that don't make no sense. If I knew David did something like that, I would have to just fire him. Man, come on now. You're the manager. You need to fire. You should have fired him and then reported. Why would he not report, y'all, that a body is in the trunk of a missing girl? It's crazy.
There's a lot going on here in terms of this grand jury, and there was also last month that said that the grand jury was not an investigative.
The jury can't do anything. People just like ordinary citizens like us, putting everything together to get a probable cause to have a grand jury. So we know that the investigative jury couldn't do anything. They trying to gather all the information up.
Grand jury, it is indeed an investigative jury, and that the prosecutors believe 100% that David has absolutely something to do with this. Wow.
Can we just give a little recap in case people are watching and just hearing about this story for the first time?
I'm glad that girl did that. That news lady did that, because look how this dude right here look at her. Look how he looked at her, and I'm glad she said what she said, because this don't make sense. I like her. It doesn't make sense. And look how he look at her. What he just told us.
Right, absolutely. I mean, so it's a very, very terrifying and horrendous case. I mean, going back earlier this year when they found David's Tesla abandoned in a field, and inside the Tesla, they unfortunately found the body of Celeste Rivas, 15-year-old Celeste Rivas, and the body was chopped up. It was dismembered, and that's what led everybody down this trail of what happened here. Why is David not being arrested?
She was 14, y'all. She was 14. They trying to make 15 to make it look cool. If this really case here look real bad on the parents. But if that had been me, they'll be making this story be so terrible. But since it's Celeste Rivas, culture, they did making it seem different to me, allegedly. Because it's no way that I don't know where my daughter at 14 years old. Going on 15, but 14 when she was folded up inside of his trunk and just turned 15 on her birthday. They trying to throw 15 in there to make it look like she was old enough to make her decision, y'all. That's what they doing. No, she was a little girl. And why they got Jack David looking old fashioned? They got David with this mess right here on. They just don't even seem like it's real. He look like he got on a fake jacket to me. Like they just piece it together. You know what I mean?
Course of several months, we learned from authorities that they did find out that David had made an unscheduled trip out to Santa Barbara in the middle of the night, and they investigated that. So that's a big part of this case, and that's probably why these murder charges are looming now, because of this newfound evidence.
Whoa.
When this body is discovered, if memory serves on what we've heard from him.
Exactly. David was on tour, but somebody moved that the private Fisher, the private PI, saw the person that moved the car. But they're not telling us because this is an open investigation. But he saw the person who moved the car. But just because I moved my car don't mean that I know that it's a body in the trunk. But why wouldn't, if I'm driving the car, I know it's a body in the trunk. I don't put my groceries in the trunk unless I order my grocery. I know I let my trunk up at some point. You know what I mean? I let it up at some point. I believe when David went out of town, it was already in the trunk. The body was already in the trunk, allegedly. I believe the body was already in the trunk. We went out of town.
And what happened at the tour?
Yeah, so all that we have heard is that David was cooperating in the early stages of this, and he did have a massive tour. He had a lot of domestic.
See, first y'all say he wasn't cooperating. First y'all say he was cooperating with the investigation, and then TMZ came back and said he's not. David is not cooperating, and then now you saying he's cooperating. Y'all keep pinpoint different stories. Y'all keep saying different things about this case.
Here in the U.S., he was scheduled to go overseas as well. But once this thing started ramping up and the heat started coming down the pipeline, those tour dates were very quickly canceled. His record label, Interscope Records, did drop him from the website and cut all ties with him. We know also that Madden NFL had scheduled to have him inside of the game, one of his songs, and that was also quietly pulled just the last.
Well, really, don't nobody know David. No way. I don't. It seemed like most of the people that know. I want to check this video out right here too, y'all. The people who really know David is most of those different cultures, other culture folks. But I don't know David. I got young kids and grandkids. I don't know David. I really don't. I've never seen David before in my life until I went over his case. Okay, on the video that you just saw, if you tuning in, go back and check it out. On the video that I just played was talking about an investigated grand jury. The difference between in a investigated grand jury and a grand jury. There are two different. There are some differences. Investigated jury means that they took some citizens like us, 16 to 23, sat down, gather up information. When you investigate it, you gathering the information to get where we can get a probable cause. That's what you're doing. You're gathering up information to get a probable cause on the event, on the situation. Now, a grand jury, hey, they have probable cause. So what the video that you just saw was telling you that they have a grand jury, but you got to listen to him. He's going to say the same thing from the first video I just showed you. This second video, he's going to tell y'all a grand jury is now in charge. They got a probable cause. They no longer have an investigated jury because they don't need them anymore because they already gather and subpoena people to come to court. They don't did all of that. They got a probable cause to convince the judge that they do have probable cause. Now it's a grand jury. Now pay attention to him. He's going to say the same thing the guy just said. Now this is an update.
Guys, Jackson Viewer here with TMZ with a huge update. I think the update that everybody has been waiting for regarding the David case in the murder of Celeste Rivas Hernandez. Now, we released a video about a week ago.
Same thing I just told y'all. Let me see what these people are saying about this case. 7 days ago, I'm so tired of hearing about this. Don't drop any more information until this blank is in jail. Somebody else said 7 days ago, talk to us with when he's arrested. Another person said, and what exactly is the huge development? You see what I mean? They are thinking the same way we're thinking because we've been on this case since day one. Those who have joined me with this case right here. So y'all, pay him some attention. It's going to differentiate what an investigative jury is and what is a grand jury is. Investigated grand jury, we're not even in that no more because they proved to the judge that they do have a probable cause to arrest David. I guess they talking about David. David, they have a probable cause now. Okay.
The comments thought that this was more of a recap than an update. We think we gave you guys a lot of updates, but feel free to dispute that in the comments. For those who didn't see the video, I'll give you a quick recap right now. We spoke about Robert Morgenroth, who is the general manager of Mogul Vision, which is David's music label. He was testimony before the grand jury in the courtroom. We have some producers who were in the hallway outside of that courtroom who caught some conversation between Morgenroth and his lawyer. Morgenroth told his lawyer that the judge inside of that courtroom was questioning him on why he didn't call the police. Now, we can only guess what the judge was asking him about, but we can conjecture that it was Celeste Rivas and why he didn't call the police regarding something that had to do with the events leading up to her death. Now, what we also want to confirm, which is not the update we want to give you, Robert Morgenroth is a suspect. There is a much bigger update here that I'll get to in a second. We also spoke about an uncooperative witness who is to be arrested due to not showing up for her testimony. We also spoke about David's midnight trip to a highly remote area in Santa Barbara, which is significant because the police classified this as evidence. Now, what that has to do with the murder of Celeste itself, we have no idea, but an interesting topic to know. Now, the update we want to give today marks a significant turning point in the death of Celeste Rivas. We think it's the biggest update that we've given yet. Now, this update is regarding the grand jury. Now, about a month ago, we here at TMZ reported
Listen, y'all. He about to tell y'all the difference. They got a grand jury now. He just said it. Regarding the grand jury. Okay? Now they have probable cause. But they got probable cause on who, y'all? How can they prove that I put a body in my trunk and drive around the world with a body in my trunk? Why would I do that? I'm out of my mind. I don't think I just don't think that. David to me seemed like a smart young man. He don't give me the thought of just riding around with a body folded up in his trunk. I just can't see David doing that, y'all. I'm sorry. I think D4VD David is intelligent enough not to drive around with a body in his trunk. I really do. I got to see this. They got to stop playing and get real to the doctor. But let's listen to this. A grand jury probable cause.
That we've given yet. Now, this update is regarding the grand jury. Now, about a month ago, we here at TMZ reported that this was an investigative grand jury to uncover unknown facts, to identify suspects, and also identify a potential crime in this case. Now, investigative grand juries can be useful to subpoena uncooperative witnesses and force them to testify in front of the grand jury. The public hated the idea of an investigative investigative grand jury, because an investigative grand jury carries a connotation.
Nah, I'm glad that you have to. I like the investigative grand jury because you got to get everything together. You know, you got to get all your paperwork, get everybody in place, get everything in place, your crime in place, and everything to get a proper. Because I like the investigative jury, but now if you got 16 to 23 people on your investigated jury, who are these people? Who are these people? The citizens. Where are you getting them from? You know, that's the only thing. Let us know something. Y'all not letting us in on, not you, sweetie, but they're not letting us in on what's going on with this case. They are talking, got TMZ telling us confusing information. You know what I mean? They need to come on the television themselves.
They aren't clear on who committed the murder or what crime was committed exactly. Today, however, we've learned that this was not an investigative grand jury. This was a grand jury, period. And that is pretty significant because a grand jury hands down indictments where an investigative grand jury does not. And we're told by multiple sources that authorities and the prosecutor, Beth Silverman, believes that David was involved in Celeste Rivas' death. So what does this mean for David? Well, it likely means that he is going to be indicted on the murder of Celeste Rivas. We don't know what the charges are going to be exactly. However, we do think that this is going
to be. You're not even telling us no update. I mean, y'all just keep coming. Y'all trying to keep the people involved. That's what I see what y'all doing. Y'all don't even have no significant turning point on this case. I mean, y'all just keep coming in here, blah, 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 blah. Y'all not, well, you still didn't even give us anything because we know you all had an investigated jury at first. Now y'all got a grand jury. Now, okay, come on now.
In the case, we have people down there around the courtroom who have overheard people in the hallways talking about how they're going to hear witnesses straight away, but still.
You hear what he said? Don't expect for the indictment to be handed out straight away. So that even though y'all gonna have, now who would do this? Put their real blood on some shirts and put it up there like that. So it's okay. So y'all, in other words, he's saying that in February that they're going to have they're going to court. That's what he's saying. They ain't gonna do nothing. I don't think they're gonna do nothing. I think it's just to keep us on our toes, you know, with the case. Y'all tell me what y'all think in the comment section about this case. Jury and the grand jury, how did they come about getting these people to participate? Where they come from? Who are they? We don't know that. All right, y'all. Make sure you like, share, and subscribe to the channel. And I will keep you updated in D4VD and Celeste Rivas case. Bye.